Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back. In this tutorial, we will discuss about number and string data type and variables. In Python, there are 6 different data types exist. In this tutorial, we will discuss about first 2 and rest 4 we will discuss in the subsequent lectures. Okay, number. There are 3 different kind of numbers exist in Python. Either it could be an integer, which is the whole number, or it could be a floating number, that's a fractional number, or it could be a complex number where there is an imaginary part along with the real part. In this case, 4.2 is the real number and the 5 is the imaginary part. Enough talking, let's see in practice. Once you open the Python shell, you can see a cursor blinking at the top. Here you can write your code. Let's say I type 2, which is an integer number, and in the first tutorial we have already discussed Python is an interpreter programming language. That means it will execute the first line, then it move to the next one. Here execute means enter key. So once I press the enter key, it prints 2. By default in Python, at least in the Python shell, if a line doesn't do anything, it will print that line in the output. Otherwise, you can write print function. Print is an inbuilt function by Python. Essentially, inbuilt function are the function which Python has defined already in the background, and you can access it by typing the name, and you can pass the argument or whatever thing that the function takes in this open and close parenthesis. And we will discuss about inbuilt function in detail in the future video, but as of now let's keep it simple. And once you say print 2, it will do the same thing as previous. And similar to the print inbuilt function, there is another inbuilt function called type, which also take one input parameter. Let's say we can pass 2, and it will return the data type or the class of the parameter which we have just passed. So here 2 is an integer number. Similarly, we can do the same thing for, let's say, fractional number, and it will return it's a float class. And lastly, we can pass a complex number, and let's see what it does. So it will return a complex number. It's the class complex. In a nutshell, in Python there are 3 different type of numbers: integer, float, and complex number. The next data type is string. String is a sequence of characters. As of now, you can ignore Unicode. It's the same as English characters, and you can pass a string within a double single quote or a double quote. Essentially, for Python, single and double quote are the same, and you can pass a multi-line string using 3 single quote or 3 double quote. Let's see in example. String is a sequence of characters. Deep hobby is also a sequence of characters. That means it's a string. So if you execute the first line, it should execute without an error. But it didn't happen because for Python it's not a string, but rather it's a variable which we haven't defined it yet. We will discuss about variable in a minute. But if you want to define a string data type, then it has to be within 2 single quote or 2 double quote. It essentially is the same thing. And you can check the data type by using type inbuilt function, and you pass the argument, and here you can see it's a class string. Now, what if you want to use a single quote within a string? Let's say I don't like to dance. I don't like to dance, and I will pass this one within 2 single quote, Python is throwing an error because we are using 3 single quote rather than 2 single quote. You can do that. You can do pass a single quote within a string using two method, two way. The first way you can pass it within two double quote. Now it executes safely. You also can pass it within two single quote, but you can use a escape character which is backslash just before the single quote that you want to treat as a string data type or a character. So essentially you can escape any character by using this backslash. Now if I execute this line, it executes without an error. One more technical detail. If you start a string data type, let's say deep hopping, and with a double quote, and you want to close this one with a single quote, Python will throw an error. Python essentially doesn't differentiate between single quote and double quote, but you cannot mix and match. So if you start a string data type using a double quote, then it has to end with a double quote. If you start a string data type with a single quote, it has to end with a single quote only. Okay, the last thing is multi-line string data type. So you can essentially do that using 3 single quote or 3 double quote. Now I will pass something here. I love to dance, and when I execute the first line, it didn't execute but moved to the next one because it's a multi-line string. And here you can pass the another line. Let's say I also like to sing, and make sure to close the multi-line string data type using 3 single quote or double quote. When you execute this one, Python executes it without an error. And here you can see there is a /n thing in the middle of 2 lines. This means it's a multi-line string data type, and the first line is I love to dance, followed by the next line which says I also like to sing. Okay, so enough for string data type. Let's move to the variable. A variable is a placeholder for a value of any data kind, not just number or a string. And you could change the value of this variable at any point of time, and not just during the declaration only. You need to give a name to a variable so that you can call this variable at later point of time as well. And there are certain rules that you need to follow when you declare a variable. First, the name should contain either letter, number, or a underscore. And the name has to start with letter or a underscore. It cannot start with a number. Space are strictly prohibited. And you cannot use the resolve keyword like lambda, because that would be conflict of interest. Python has certain resolve keyword, and you essentially cannot use it. That's obvious, you know. And Python is a case sensitive, so apple with a capital A and apple with a small a is not equal. Yeah, it's very crucial. You need to remember this thing. Okay, let's go to the Python shell and try to declare a variable and call the variable at the later point of the code. Okay, let's say we have a variable called myvar1, and we can assign a value to this variable, let's say 5, which is an integer data type. And this is called assignment operator because you are assigning a value which is on the right hand side to the left hand side variable. Okay, now if I execute this one, the value is being assigned to the variable, and I can see the value which is stored in this variable by using print command, and output is 5. That means 5 is stored in the variable myvar1. And the first part here, we are actually defining or assigning a value to a variable, and this is called calling of a variable. Okay, I told you Python is a case sensitive program, so if I use the case, let's say myvar with small or lowercase v, Python will throw an error, and if you can see the error, it's saying myvar1 is not yet defined because myvar1 with lowercase v is not equal to myvar1 with uppercase v. Okay. Now, if you have experienced in other programming language like C++, Java, you know you need to define a variable in the beginning of the program itself, and you need to specify the data type as well. But in Python, you doesn't have to do that. Python will automatically take care of that step. So because of that, you can not only change the value of the variable within the same data type, but you can also change the value of the variable from the different data type. Let's first change the value of the variable within the same data type. So earlier we have declared, we assigned a value 5, which is the integer data type. Now we can assign to the same variable, let's say 9, which is again an integer data type, but a different one. Now 9 is being assigned to myvar1, and you can see the value which stored in the myvar1, and it's 9, which is we just assigned. Okay, now we can assign a value which is not from the same data type but a different data type. Let's say a string data type, which is, let's say, deep hopping, and Python execute this line without an error. That means the value is assigned to myvar1, and you can see the value which is stored in the myvar1 by using print command, and it's showing deep hopping. You can see the type of the variable by using type command, and you can see it's a string data type. Before we conclude this video, let me give you few other Python inbuilt function, and one of them is input. And when I run this particular Python inbuilt function, it will ask user to put any value while it executes, and we can pass that value to a variable, let's say myvar2. Now if I will just say execute this line, and you can print, you can put anything, let's say I will put my name, it execute without an error. And if I want to see what is the value stored in the myvar2, it's saying it's Smriti, which I just gave during the execution of the code. Let's try one more time this print inbuilt function, and this time we can pass a string data type here, string argument. Let's say please put your name, and whatever value you pass in this input inbuilt function, it will print while it execute. Now I can change the variable name to, let's say, 3, and if I will just execute this one, now it's saying please put a number. If I will put a number, you can see this number being assigned to myvar3. Now if I want to see what value stored in this variable myvar3, you can see it's 5, but it's not 5 as an integer number, it's a string type. Essentially, whatever value you passed while after this execution of input inbuilt function, it will convert that one to string. So if you want to change this one to an integer one, so you can do this thing, let's say my var4 and this one, and we can pass the whole inbuilt function within another inbuilt function, let's say int, and this will convert whatever output coming from this particular thing to an integer. Now if I will pass a number, let's say 5, it stores the value in the variable myvar4, but if I will just see the type of the variable, it's an integer variable. Okay, No, it's no more a string. You can convert this output to float as well with the function float. Float inbuilt function, and you can pass let's say my fab3, which we have assigned here, and which we know that it's a string type. Now we can change it to float type. Let's do a quick recap. We have discussed about two different data types out of 6, which is number and string. We also discussed about how to name a variable, how to assign a value to a variable, and how to call the variable at later point of time. We have also seen few of the inbuilt function of Python and how to use them. With this, I conclude this video. Thanks for watching, and please do like and subscribe this channel if you haven't done it yet. Until next time, cheers.